So hey guys, what's up? Welcome to World News 20 News channel. So let's talk about from respect to sink and twisted US-China ties continue to deteriorate. Evil, lunacy and shameless, sick and twisted China has hit back at American criticism over its handling of the coronavirus pandemic with an outpouring of the vitriol as real as anything seen in decades. The bitter recommendations have plunged relations between China and the United States to another, with warnings in both countries and that the bad blood threatens to draw them into a new kind of Cold War. A cycle of statements and actions is solidifying long-standing suspicions in Beijing that the US and its allies are bent on stifling China's rise as an economic, diplomatic and military power after the pandemic. The international political landscape would totally change. Wu Shikong, president of the National Institute for South China Sea Studies, said in a telephonic interview the confrontation between China and the United States in terms of trade, technology, the Taiwan issue, the South China Sea issue will be a bigger problem. The tensions spilled over into the United Nations on Friday when China said that the urgency of the pandemic demanded that the United States pay its delinquent UN assessment, which by some calculation exceeds $2 billion. The American mission to the United Nations responded by saying that the United States customarily pays its assessments at year's end and that China was eager to distract attention from its cover-up and mismanagement of the coronavirus crisis. I have a very good relationship, but right now I don't want to speak to him, Mr. Trump said of the Mr. Xi on Thursday. A spokesman for the China's Foreign Ministry, Zhuan, brushed aside Mr. Trump's tweet to the severe relations, saying on Friday that the two countries should cooperate. China's leaders have struck back through party-run media outlets that said the United States and other democracies had ignored warnings and disastrously mismanaged the crisis. China has repeatedly held up its response as a model that other countries should follow, not criticize. Such lunacy is a clear byproduct and first and foremost of the proverbial anxiety that the US has suffered from since China began its global ascension. Global Times, a nationalist Chinese newspaper, said on Friday of Mr. Trump's comments, it is also a combination of fear and panic on behalf of the Washington elites. Communist Party runs the news outlets have lashed out specifically at Mr. Pompeo for arguing that the outbreak might have leaked from a Chinese lab. If this evil politician Pompeo is allowed to continue his swaggering bluff, one fears that the United States great again can only be a joke, said a commentary broadcast on a CCTV, China's main state television network. So if you like the channel, so kindly subscribe to it.